Hello and welcome to my review of the LG G2 D80020K software, stock software. I've already done a video on 10C and there has been an update since then, and I've done quite a few ROMs between that time period as well. So I want to go ahead and come back to stock and talk about stock, and I'm going to try and do this video in sections. First of all, again, this is the LG G2 for AT&T. This software is the D80020K. This is not a debloated custom ROM. This is a stock LG ROM. It's the same thing you'd get if you were to walk into the store today and buy the G2, assuming, of course, that it comes with the latest software installed on it out of the box. Apps you'll find on this phone, as far as bloat goes: AT&T Code Scanner, AT&T Family Map, AT&T Locker, AT&T Navigator, AT&T Ready to Go, Beats Music. I personally use Google Play Music, Browser Bar, Flamingo, Featured Apps, Games, LifeSquare, Log Manager, Mobile TV, The Little Princess, AT&T Drive Mode, AT&T Smart Wi-Fi, Device Help, ISIS Wallet, which doesn't work if you're rooted. However, you can use Root Cloak, but you need to have an enhanced SIM. We'll talk about that some more later too. My AT&T, and of course the LG apps, which include Notepad, Notebook, Polaris Office, Quick Remote, Quick Translator, Task Manager, Tasks, Video Editor, Voice Commands, as well as VoiceMate and Yellow Pages. And of course I'm using the Q-Pair because I have traded my Nexus 10 tablet for an LG G-Pad, the V500. So real quick, let me go ahead and show you some of these apps that are running. So running apps, we have, I'm using Greenify, that's what I've added. I can kill this because I'm not really using this right now. Alright, visual voicemail settings, Qualcomm stuff, Bluetooth, software update, Android Core apps, Google Services, email, LG Intelligent Agent, which I believe has something to do with the Wi-Fi and cell phone signal handoff when they trade off. Music player, Slide Aside, which I don't really use. I should go ahead and turn that off. Text Link, View Talk, that lets you, if you have somebody else with an LG G2 running a stock-based ROM, they can actually see what you're doing with your phone when you're on the phone with them. It's kind of nice. Weather, lock screen notifications, and the LG keyboard. I've already cleared out a lot of this bloat, and I will tell you what I stopped running. I stopped running SVI settings. I killed the AT&T address book. I did not mess with the View Talk or the LG agents just because I do have a feeling those are essential. Now let's talk about some features and some changes that AT&T has brought over Jelly Bean. One is aesthetically, you'll see here you got a lot of white. Okay, you got a lot of white. You got a lot of white. That's the one thing that you do notice over Jelly Bean. There's also a battery savings option in your locations. Let's see, location. So you have some more control over how locations are found and utilized, and you can see what software's using those, and you can turn off location services altogether for battery saving. Other than that, and the apps that come on the G2 with the KitKat update, I don't really see a whole lot of difference between the KitKat and Jelly Bean. I do feel like you get a bit faster and a bit more responsive on the KitKat. It seems like the camera is quicker to open, and with the 20K I do see that the brightness adjustment is much quicker. It does seem to respond faster, and it does a really good job of adequately brightening the screen. That being said, it does still feel like it's dimmer than your AOSP CM based ROMs. Let's talk about kernels. What I'm showing you here, we are Android 4.4.2. We are on the D80020K, as I mentioned before. But the kernel 3.4.90, it's not the newest one. There is 3.4.91. This currently is Dormax, or however you want to pronounce that. It is DORIMANX. There'll be a link for it below. The stock kernel, I just could not get batter drain under control with the stock kernel. I gave it more than a few days. I've been on this ROM for much longer than I wanted to be, but thanks to the new arrival of my daughter last week, it really delayed me on doing anything with my phone. As you can imagine, my priorities have been in other places. So, that being said, I want to go ahead and get this summed up while I had a chance, so I can go ahead and move on to the next ROM. But kernel-wise, the stock kernel, while it's stable and it's fine, I just could not get battery life under control. I've had better luck with this Dory Max. Furnace, however, I had some real issues with the furnace. I don't know, it was real unusual. I could not get the frequencies to stick when I changed them. In fact, I kept wanting to change the maximum CPU speed to 1.5 or 1.7 gigahertz, even when it was not at high temperature. Even when it was around 39 degrees Celsius, it was still changing them right back. Real quick battery life and benchmarks. I say real quick, but I have quite a few screenshots to share with you here today. This is me showing you some of the Wakelocks I was having. I was off the charger for 7 hours and 28 minutes. This is pretty early on. This is with the stock kernel. And Carrier IQ, there it is. I did disable that, by the way. However, it was not as easy as I had expected. These are the Xposed modules I was using. Here we are, audio mix 1013. I have not had this on previous ROMs, not to my recollection, not to this extent, but it was continuing to wake up the phone on a regular basis. Here we go again, Wi-Fi off delay not used. I have a feeling this is because I had the Wi-Fi set to still run even when it was asleep. 15 hours, 22 minutes off the charger. We are at 71% here, and 1 hour and 33 minutes of screen on time. That's pretty disappointing. Usually at 71% on a stock-based ROM. I'm at 2.5 hours of screen on time, somewhere close to there. At the very least, I'm at 2 hours of screen on time. So, not 100% sure what was going on, so I continued to work with. This is a bench on stock, 18,105. Here we go again, and 26,598. So it was benching lower than what the LG G2 is supposed to. Again, I'm not really sure what's happening here. Maybe the only thing I had was some Xposed modules and the DPI Changer, but nothing that would have caused it to bench so low. Here we go again, these Wakelocks. And this 1013, continuous struggle with this 1013 and this Android system here. Continuing on here. This is about when I started to experiment with custom kernels, but this is just showing you the Wakelocks as I was trying to hone in on what was going on with the battery life here. 7 hours, 34 minutes of battery usage, and a 54% battery life, with 2 hours and 9 minutes of screen on time. So if we extrapolate that, I could probably, 54%, that kind of usage, we're looking at maybe 15 hours of off charger time, and a little over 4 hours and 20 minutes of screen on time. Not the best I've seen on stock. Here's another one, 16 hours, 41 minutes, 1 hour and 52 minutes screen on time. And these are the Wakelocks for it. Bluetooth, abnormally high here. 2 hours and 22 minutes of keeping the phone awake. These speak for themselves. This was a little bit lower than what it normally is, but still that's pretty high. Alright, now this is, I believe this is when I switched to the Dory Max kernel, and we're looking at 26 hours and 32 minutes off the charger. 26 hours, 32 minutes. Oh, you know what I did there? I was showing you on the graph here, going backwards, how I used it. 3 hours and 36 minutes of screen on time. This is much better. Still not as high as I'd like it to be, but still pretty good. We were on track. Looking at our last bit of usage here, looking here on how we were using the phone, we are easily on track for 5 hours screen on time. So that's pretty good. 20 hours, 58 minutes, 28 hours, 58 minutes. As you can see, going back, 3 hours and 34 minutes of screen on time. So again, we're probably on track for another 5 hours screen on time. Not bad. This is showing overnight, 8 hours and 26 minutes off the charger. It found deep sleep, no problem. We're still at 100%. And it was 8 hours and 26 minutes of standby. These are the Wakelocks that happened overnight. And again, that's mostly because I had the Wi-Fi set to be on while we're asleep. Here's a bench with the Dormax kernel. It does seem to bench lower. Here are the settings: on demand, 2.4 gigahertz, 1.9, 1024, and deadline. So that's our benchmarks and our battery life. I would talk about the camera, but I have not seen any camera changes between the 10D, I'm sorry, the 10C and the 20K. The camera still opens up pretty fast. It does seem to be a little bit slower on the Dormax kernel than on stock, but it still opens up. Still takes pictures the way you expect from that LG camera app. It's a fantastic camera. It does a great job focusing. It does a great job at light, and I really like the color representation and accuracy that it pulls. Opening apps, again, it's speedier than Jelly Bean, but by how much is you really going to notice? Probably not. In fact, there's enough people who want to go back to Jelly Bean because they're having some battery drain problems with KitKat, and they're not wanting to take the steps that I took to try to eliminate and isolate what they are. I'm still not sure what that audio mix wake up is. If you happen to know what it is, please comment below. I'd love to see if you're having the same thing, if you figure out what it is, because I've Googled it and I've searched around and I just haven't found the definitive answer on what was causing these wake locks. And I greenified everything. I greenified, oh, I went greenified crazy. Absent is the themes. Okay, so you won't see the themes that you saw before down here in some custom LG based ROMs. You get your lock screen settings, your home screen settings, and add apps and widgets, and then all settings. So you don't have theme support. That's just what you get with stock. It's just the way it is. Not a big deal. Free RAM, we are at 0.91 gigs. This is right on par. Actually, this is better than I believe. It's better than what I was getting with Jelly Bean. So they've done some pretty good things here with RAM utilization in this 20K. I think it's even an improvement over the 10C. DPI, I am set at 400 DPI. I use TexDroider for that, and then I use Xposed and app settings for changes to DPIs into Force Immersive mode. I'll go over that in a later section of the video. Let's talk about what's happening on XDA with the ROM development. AOSP and CM based ROMs are now starting to use the 4.4 device tree from the LG G2 stock kernel, as well as the Nexus 5 stock kernel, and that means big changes for your ROMs. If you are on 20K, it's going to be much easier for you to flash ROMs. You don't have to flash a KitKat baseband. You don't have to downgrade to a KitKat modem with fixed rotation or any of that stuff. It's going to be good news for you. Bad news for anybody who wants to go to ROMs that aren't updating, and most ROMs are updating. If they haven't done it yet, they're in the process of. It's not exactly the easiest thing in the world, but Dr. 87 has made it much easier. We will see more ROMs making this conversion. I'll do a video as well to kind of cover what's happening with these. Let's talk about how I got to this ROM and how you can get to this ROM. Either it came out of the box this way, okay, or it came with another version of KitKat and you took an OTA to get to 20K. Another way you could do it is you can use the tote method if you're on an LG G2 D800 and the LG Flash tool, and you can go straight to 20K. At the time that I installed this, I did not have that downloaded. It's a rather large file. I did download it now though for future usage. I did this going back to 10.0, going back to 10.0, and then taking the OTAs over and over and over again until I got to this point. The only thing I had to do was some finagling with the time to get it there. After I got to 20K in the final update, I used IO-Root 25 to gain my root access, and then I used AutoREC from Cloudyfa to get my twerp, my recovery on this phone. It's very easy. There will be links to what you need in the description below. Now let's talk about how I customize this ROM and how I customize most of my LG stock-based ROMs for my usage and the way that I find it to be aesthetically pleasing and easy to use. These are the apps that I have to have. I have to have Xposed. Okay, so until Xposed supports Art, I stay on Dalvik. And there is a way to force this into ART, by the way, even though it's AT&T. There's a script on XDA developers. I'm not going to share it because it can cause problems for your phone. There are certain LG apps that are not compatible with ART, so that's probably part of the reason why ART isn't natively supported. Okay, I use Xposed. In this case, it's 2.6.1. I use TexDroider to set my DPI to 400. I use G2 Xposed to remove a lot of the icons, the notification icons as well, manipulate the clock, remove the volume and brightness sliders. I can bring them back. Very useful. And to get these 5 icons on my navigation bar. You can also configure them to do what you want to on long press. Okay. I think this one. Yep. Quick memo. That's how I got that set up. Okay. I use app settings. So we're going to go in here. App settings, and I'll give you an example of an app that I changed the settings on. You're going to have to change it on the camera. Alright, so on the camera, I set to 480, and I used immersive mode so that it'll force the immersive mode on the application. There you have it. See, the icons on the bottom are gone. You can easily get them back by swiping up the bottom. Okay, and no border around the clock because I'm at 400. Advanced power menu. I use advanced power menu to give me the ability to natively boot straight to recovery without having to use an app. Greenify. Well, if you're not familiar with what Greenify is, there are plenty of videos on it. I use it to try to improve my battery life. Play Store fixes, because I changed the DPI, some apps won't show up in the Play Store. With the Play Store fixes in Xposed, that fixes that problem. Root Cloak. I use Root Cloak because I'm trying to get ISIS Wallet to work. However, I need to have an enhanced SIM, and it should be good to go now because it doesn't set the phone as rooted anymore, so the Root Cloak does work. I also use an app called Disable Services to kill Carrier IQ. That's a little bit easier than it used to be because I can only find one file, and when I use this application here, which honestly, because I've been using custom ROMs for so long, I haven't had to worry about Carrier IQ. I'm not even sure if this is a good one to use, but I'll show you here. Carrier IQ is not active, okay, because I got rid of that one using using the Disable Services app. Widgets. I normally find myself using HD widgets or Zuper more often than not. This time I opted to keep with the stock LG widget and just make it transparent. This was actually very easy to do, worked fine on the stock ROM. You take the file, the LG weather theme.apk that's been modded for the transparent. You back up your old one, which is located in System and App. Find a LG weather theme.apk, all one word. Copy it, back it up somewhere, then copy over it with the new one, and then change the permissions to RWRR. I use root browser because when you download it's going to be RWRW. You want it to be RWRR. Reboot the phone, and there you have it. It works. I use the memory booster widget here, an application to quickly be able to do a one-tap clear memory and to also get a good look at where my RAM usage is just for these reviews. I also use the clear Google Calendar here. I do find it to be a lot more aesthetically pleasing than the LG calendar, and generally, and I have it disabled right now. There's my Google Now right here. I have it disabled because I've been experimenting with battery life tests. So how do I set up my home screens? I have had that question before. One of the really nice things about an LG based ROM is, and I haven't had any problems with any other LG based ROMs, is I can go to here, I can back up my layout, I can go to another custom ROM, LG based ROM. Once all my apps are installed, I can restore, as long as I copy this file that's located on the memory card. I can restore all this one click, pretty easy. For me, functionality, aesthetically pleasing, and quick to access, those are all very important. So this is my home screen. I have my most frequently used apps along with quick access to my gallery and my camera. I love showing off pictures. Who doesn't? Of their kids and their dogs, or their family, of things, events, places like that. Gallery's there, and quick access to the camera to turn the camera on real quick. Phone, email, Hangouts, which is my text messages, and web browser. These are very frequently used. So if I'm on this page where I'm spending most of my time, I have quick access to what I'm going to be opening up most of the time. In this direction, I have my Google Now. I put a few miscellaneous apps down here, and I have looping turned off. One page over, we have my other frequently used apps, all my media, all my games, and my news aggregation. Everything's right here, okay? From social media to some news sources to games to videos and music. One page over, I got my calendar and all my work-related apps, and then I have my quick dial as well as the applications that I use down here to check my Wakelocks, check my kernel settings. So I'll come back in here, and because I rebooted it, changed my scheduler. There we go. And I can check my temperature real quick. I find this up to be very easy. As long as I keep it pretty similar with even my AOSP based ROMs, I find that it's quick for me to find what I'm looking for. I don't want to worry about doing a bunch of theming and changing. Do I think that is wasted or useless? No, I don't. I've seen plenty of things that are gorgeous, that are beautiful, but for me, this is just what works. And consistency. That's it. So in summary, what can we say about the LG G2 D800 with the 20K software? I can say it's fast, it's fluid, it's responsive. There are stability fixes, but honestly, I didn't have any problems with stability before. The ROM is very nice. The apps just worked. I haven't had any apps crash on me. The only thing that I had issues with was battery life and the bloat they throw on this stuff. Man, the bloat is ridiculous. If you're going to run stock, you need to be able to root. And if you want to really get the most out of your phone and a screen this size, you're going to have to change the DPI. I also find a great advantage in using these 5 icons down here in my navigation bar. It just really makes things easy for one-handed use. Other than that, I mean, it's solid. I get good signal with my LG G2 with the 4G LTE. I get really good signal. I don't know what else I can say about it. It's very similar to 10D. Not a whole lot of changes with 20K, although I do feel like the RAM utilization is a little bit better. It does seem to hang out with the higher numbers of free RAM. I know what you're going to say, free RAM is wasted RAM, but hey, you know, if you're going to run games and like that, and you come out and you only have 100 megs available, that's a little disconcerting to me. And then it doesn't clear on its own like it should sometimes. I understand how Android works, and I do know that it has better RAM utilization, but I have noticed that there are times that I haven't been out of RAM, but I have looked at this number and it's been 200, 300, not a big deal, but there are those out there who are concerned with that kind of stuff. Battery life, again, I really had to play and manipulate with this ROM a little bit more than I think I should have had to get battery life where it should have been in the first place and where it used to be. So I'm not 100% sure what that wake clock was that I was getting over and over and over again. Once I got rid of Carrier IQ, it did get better, but it was still there. Open this up now and just kind of take a look. There it is, 1013. There it is again, right there at the top. It is what it is. I just wish it wasn't there. Overall, it's very positive. Very positive. If it got better battery life, it'd be even better. But there are just too many stock LG ROMs out there that are debloated that get much better battery life, and I'm going to try and test some more of those as well as some more AOSP based ROMs and get back to it and start pumping out these videos again. So if you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up if you found it useful. If you have any questions I didn't cover, ask. I try to answer as often as I can, and I try to help as often as I can. Thank you and have a great day.